Good afternoon. I'm Michael Sanders, and this broadcast is coming to you from the auditorium at Canterbury Woods. Over human history, there have been several times where a particular city has suddenly become the center for great creativity and intellectual accomplishment. I think of times like classical Greece for philosophy, or Renaissance Florence for art, Elizabethan England for literature and drama. Well, one time like that was Vienna at the end of the 18th century and the beginning of the 19th century, say about 1780 to 1830. This time, musical historians call the Viennese first Viennese school. And the primary composers in that period are Haydn, Mozart, and also Beethoven, especially earlier Beethoven, and Schubert. There really is no early Schubert. He died so young. I'll begin with Haydn. Haydn had his first years of success in Vienna, but he spent most of his working life in the wilds of Hungary, where he worked at the estates of Prince Esterházy. Although he was far away from any large center of culture, he became, during that time, not only the greatest composer in Europe, but the most famous and maybe the most successful composer in Europe. Well, after Prince Esterházy died, he returned to Vienna and lived there for the rest of his life, except for two substantial trips to London. There he heard, among other things, the English people singing "God Save the King." He was so impressed by that. There was nothing like that in Austria. There was no national anthem. That when he returned to Vienna, he wrote an anthem. And it became enormously popular. It was soon the Austrian national anthem. Later, somewhat sadly, the German national anthem during the Third Reich. It's also been the alma mater of innumerable schools and colleges, and the basis of at least two hymns. One is the Protestant hymn, "Glorious Things of Thee Are Spoken," and the other is the Catholic hymn, "Tantum Ergo." Well, this hymn has a long German name, Gott erhalte Franz der Kaiser, but I think I'll just call it the German, the Emperor hymn. The Emperor hymn is probably Haydn's best known melody, and later in life, the last 6 or 7 years of Haydn's life, when he was worn out both physically and mentally and could no longer compose, which was a great sorrow for him, he would sometimes go to the piano and play this tune over and over with tears running down his cheeks. In the same year that he composed it, he also wrote one of his greatest string quartets, the one that's known as the Emperor Quartet. And in the second movement of that quartet, he wrote a set of variations on this theme, the Emperor's hymn. And later on, he published a piano set of variations, which are basically a kind of transcription of the string quartet. The string quartet is written with infinite care. It's one of the most perfect pieces in chamber music. The piano version is not made with the same care, maybe not by Haydn at all. Well, I've taken the liberty of going back to the string quartet and making some changes to make it come a little bit closer to the quartet and perhaps be a little bit more effective pianistically as a result. So here are the variations from the string quartet, Opus 76, number 3, the so-called Emperor Hymn variations by Haydn. Thank you. Our focus today is on Vienna, but I thought it would be fun as an interlude to do some popular songs about other cities, mostly American cities, cities and towns. And I'll begin with music by the great jazz pianist and composer, Jelly Roll Morton. At one point in his life, he was living in Los Angeles, but taking jobs all over, as far as any place he could get to, as far north as San Francisco and as far south as San Diego, and even into Mexico. And one of the places he liked playing was in Tijuana, a place called the Kansas City Bar. And as a consequence, he wrote one of his much-loved pieces, the Kansas City Stomp, and that's what I'll play now. Thank you. And here's a song from a movie musical called Calamity Jane. It was made sort of to take advantage of the great popularity of Irving Berlin's Annie Get Your Gun. It's about another gunfighter, woman gunfighter, Calamity Jane. And the song is Just Blew In from the Windy City. Now, the Windy City, of course, is Chicago, called that partly because it gets bitter winter winds from Lake Erie, but probably also because of characteristics of people who live in Chicago, of being rather self-aggrandizing and boastful. So whatever the source of the nickname, the song is Just Blew In from the Windy City. It's written by Webster and Fain. Thank you. Now back to Vienna for Mozart. I'd like to play a minuet in D major. Like a great deal of Mozart's music, it's very elegant and smooth and expressive on the surface. There seems to be an underlying vein of melancholy or even of pain. And because of that, I think it must have been very attractive to Tchaikovsky, who in fact orchestrated this same minuet and made it the second movement of an orchestral suite that he wrote called Mozartiana. Mozartiana. Here is the minuet in D major. It's Koschel 355. Thank you. Now I'd like to play, I think, one of the great songs, at least country songs that I know. It's The City of New Orleans. It was made famous by Arlo Guthrie, but it was composed and words were written and first performed by Steve Goodman. It's a story of in a way, of a trip from Chicago to New Orleans on the train that is called the City of New Orleans. This is part of the Illinois Central Railway. The song tells about the cities and the little towns and the open fields that the train passes through day and night. The people who ride on the train, the men and women, children and old people, different races. And it tells about the crew, the engineers and the conductors, the porters, all these people. It's a kind of a vision, in a way, of America, almost like Walt Whitman. I'll read you just a bit of the second verse to give you some idea. It says, "And the sons of Pullman porters and the sons of engineers ride their father's magic carpet made of steel. Mothers with their babes asleep are rocking to the gentle beat, and the rhythm of the rails is all they feel." So here is the song, "The City of New Orleans." Thank you. And another song about cities, Sioux City Sioux. It is the title song of a movie, forgettable and probably forgotten, called Sioux City Sioux. It was written for Gene Autry. He had just got out of military service at the end of the Second World War and needed a vehicle to bring himself back in front of the public. So this was what was written for him. The words, I'm sorry to say, are probably not Walt Whitman. Here is a small sample. "Sioux City Sioux, Sioux City Sioux, your hair is red, your eyes are blue, I'd swap my horse and dog for you." So here is all you need, probably, of Sioux City Sioux. Now I'd like to go back to Beethoven. This movement, it's usually known as the Bagatelle in C major, one of several in that key. It was written for one of Beethoven's greatest sonatas, the Waldstein Sonata, but he decided not to use it. And just so you don't conclude that he thought there was something wrong with it, he discarded several other beautiful movements because he was looking for a certain balance that only he knew. But he certainly didn't spurn the piece, because 19 years later he came back to it and revised it towards the end of his life. So this is like one of Beethoven's puzzles. It has the most complicated and unexpected turns under its smooth surface. So here is the Bagatelle, though its work opus, without an opus number, number 56, by Beethoven. Now I'd like to play one of the great songs of Gershwin. Gershwin, George wrote the music, of course, and Ira wrote the words. The song is A Foggy Day in London Town. I found two nice arrangements of it, one by Philip Keverin and the other one by Brent Edstrom, and I'll play you bits of both of those arrangements. Now here's a song by Leonard Bernstein. It comes from On the Town, and the song is Lonely Town. It's sung by one of the sailors who are in New York on a shore leave, and this sailor says, New York is a lonely town if you don't have love. This turns out to be a song that Frank Sinatra liked very much to sing. He recorded it several times. It was on one of his television specials. He apparently took a role in the movie version of On the Town so that he could sing this song. Well, it turned out that the movie version massacred the music. They ended up only using 4 of Bernstein's songs. And on the last day of shooting the film, when Frank Sinatra was told no, he was not going to be allowed to record this song, one of his biographers said simply, Frank was very, very angry. Here's Lonely Town by Leonard Bernstein from On the Town. Now I'd like to return to Schubert, the last of our Viennese composers from that first Viennese school. Though Schubert certainly did not live a long life, he was extremely productive. Just among the short dance movements that he wrote apparently more than 600. And to play through them now, it's like looking at a book of photographs of snowflakes. Each one is small, each one is perfect, each one is completely distinct from any other one. I'll play you three little German dances. Schubert called them Deutsche. Three German dances. That's kind of a country cousin of a waltz. And they come from a set of 6, and Schubert directs that the movements be played in this order: 4th, 5th, 4th, 6th, and 4th again. So that's what I'll do. 3 Deutsche by Franz Schubert. Now, 2 more songs about towns. One perhaps everybody knows, O Little Town of Bethlehem. The words were written by a rector in Philadelphia, Philip Brooks, and the music was written at the very last minute by the church organist, Louis Redner. On the Friday before the first rehearsal, Redner had begun the music. A theme came to him Saturday night. He wrote it down. The next morning, he wrote out the harmony, and they rehearsed it that Sunday. Well, Philip Brooks had written about his visit to Palestine. This was during the Civil War, the American Civil War. And he remembered how still and empty Bethlehem was. He wrote, I think, a very great poem. Well, anyway, if you are an Episcopalian, you know that the church is deeply divided because some people sing this tune to the tune that Redner wrote. It's sometimes called St. Louis for no very good reason. And some people sing the same Christmas carol to another tune that was collected by the English composer, Ralph Vaughan Williams. It's an authentic folk song, and it has the name Forest Green. Well, I am definitely a St. Louis man. I like the tune that I'll play. So here is a jazz setting of O Little Town of Bethlehem. And one last town song by Tony Hatch, an English composer and music producer. This is Downtown. He wrote it, he was in New York looking for material for his singers to record. And he was staying in a hotel near Times Square. And he walked into what he thought was downtown, center of New York, and just at the moment that all the neon lights came on, the tune to Downtown came to him. So it was made very popular by Petula Clark, first in England and then all the English-speaking countries, and then other countries as well. So here's Downtown. Well, thank you. I want to thank Keith Chase for his recording. I want to thank Blanca Diaz and the others for making these concerts possible and bringing them to the television and to YouTube. I want to thank you for being here. I have one more Viennese piece to play. After the death of Schubert, music went in a little bit different direction in Vienna, especially dance music, waltzes. And paralleling the popularity of dance music was the popularity of complicated piano arrangements of the dance music. These elaborate concoctions, almost like whipped cream and sugar. They were like Viennese pastries. Here's a particularly high-calorie arrangement of one last Viennese piece, the Tales of the Vienna Woods, written by Johann Strauss the Younger and arranged for piano by Edward Shute.